And one. Hello, everyone. It is Monday, May 17th. Welcome to the 2 Point Conversion podcast, episode 9, I think. I'm sorry, Jeff, if that's not the right one. I have no idea which one it is, quite honestly. I am pleased, more than pleased, to be joined by two extremely informative and lovely people. Emily.
Hello.
Matthew.
Happy to be here.
Hello, everyone.
I'm of you here. So
Thank
happy.
you.
I really am. This is going to be fun. This is going to be fun, and it's going to be informative, and you don't get fun and informative a lot. So before we start, though, Emily, let's start with you. Why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'd love to. So my name's Emily Kluge. You probably are aware of who my husband is, Dave. But I'm a baker. I live in Fort Collins. I started my own company a couple years ago, and I'm starting at the farmers market in our area. I've grown up with football. I love it. I'm getting into the fantasy space, so don't eat me alive too much on my first go. But I'm honestly just so honored to be here and learn from people and hear people's stories and just get to know more people in this community because you're all so wonderful, truly.
Oh, and Emily, what would be your walk-up song?
Superstition by Stevie Wonder. I'm all about the beats on the intro. So boom, 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 boom. Like that's just, you're going to get me grooving my hips and my shoulders, and everybody in the stands is going to do the same thing, but it gets the people going.
Really good song. That's true. Thank you, Matthew. How are you, Dar?
I'm good. I am really thankful to be here. I'm thankful for reaching out. I'm happy to be back behind a mic, talking to people about fantasy and other things. It's been about 7-8 months since. So some people, if you haven't forgotten about me, hi, Matt. Talk about fantasy stuff sometimes. Talk about other stuff other days. It's fun to be here. You know, you getting rid of the something I used to do 3 times a week, and I get like the little jitters that you're like, oh, it's kind of crazy being back and all that. So I like that I'm nervous. I like that it means I'm excited. So I'm happy to be here for sure.
Yeah.
And what would be your walk-up song?
If I had to go with, so here's the thing, 2-prong thing. If I had to go with like a theme song, it's got to be "Reasons to Not Be an Idiot" by Frank Turner. It's a lot of everyone is one thing on the kind of like on the surface, and then anything, it's just everyone's dealing with their own stuff. Don't get too much in your own head. Like get outside, get up, get out there sort of deal. But if it was like a baseball walk-up song, that's Definition by Black Star for sure.
Ooh.
So it's kind of like the
excellent
Definition by Black Star with Most Def Talent Quality. What was that?
I don't think I know that song.
Ooh. Then you just found something really great to add to your Spotify and or Pandora for sure.
By Black Star. All right, on it. Black Star Definition. All right, everyone. Hi, Jay. G-Man Jay says, hi, Matt.
Hi, Jay.
Actually, it was like really emphatic. And then I'm
Jay's a good guy.
Mr. Emily saying, what's up, y'all?
Hey. I
just learned how your last name was pronounced, Dave. Congrats.
Mr. Emily's. Okay, first we're going to talk about, so we're going to interchange. The first thing I want to talk about is Emily's cooking show with Steve Harvey.
And boy.
I don't know what that is. Please.
Yes. Okay, so I was on with Steve Harvey and Tabitha Brown, and someone had reached out to me on Instagram because I follow her and I'll comment on all of her stuff because I think she is hilarious and so amazing of a personality. But I, of course, said yes after they asked me, hey, would you like to come on a virtual, basically a Zoom Steve Harvey show? And you'll just be cooking. Of course, I'm saying yes. Why would I say no to something like that? So they asked me to show our kitchen space, which is hysterical because our kitchen space is so tiny, so little. And now I'm pointing, what's up?
I think it's below me.
I'm pointing at nothing. Like, now I want to stop and be able to talk to you. This is awesome. Oh my goodness.
I've never been part of a hijack. This is great.
What's going on?
I'm blushing. I'm so excited. I honestly am like, train of thought is gone.
Oh, I'm just hijacking shows today. This is the second one I crashed. It's fun. It's enjoyable. How you doing, Gladys?
I'm good.
And Emily and Matt.
Hello.
What's up? So nice to finally meet you.
Yeah. So you want to know my walk-up song, or you passed that already? I would go with Beastie Boys' "Sabotage," and really, you can come in at any good point in that song, but right after the bridge is a pretty dang good point to maybe I'm walking up with the bridge and then it hits or something. I don't know.
Any way you walk up is going to be beautiful.
That's a good spot. Good spot. I only have a couple minutes though. I got to put the kids to bed here at 7. So
I wanted your son on the show too. The one
he just walked over here, but he was just fresh out of the shower, so I shoot him away. Probably not a good moment for him to come onto the show. But yeah. Gladys and I actually go way back. You wrote for FF Oasis like 10 plus years ago.
I did.
You've been around in the industry for a long time.
I have, and this is like the first, like last year during the pandemic was the first time I started doing it consistently, I think.
Yeah.
And Mr. Emily wants to know what the fuck.
I saw that.
This is supposed to be Emily's. See, that's actually part of the reason I wanted to come on, because now when Emily's this big famous woman in the fantasy industry, I can be like, I was on her first show. Like I crashed her first show.
And it was an awesome crashing. I just mid-sentence, all of my thoughts are fleeting into, I am 1000% positive that's Scott Fish on there right next to me.
Oh man.
Well done.
Very awesome. Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess I might have to go a little quicker than I thought. But thanks for letting me crash. And also, I just wanted to say I love the work Going for Two is doing. I love that you guys throw in charitable elements with things you do. It's awesome to see that. I love the positivity you've been bringing, Emily, to the industry. I've been seeing tweets recently about the community not getting along, and I don't know the full story there, but it's frustrating to me as someone who's consistently trying to connect us, and you're everything you put out there is so positive and so good, and we need so much more of that in this industry, and I love seeing that. So
thank you so much.
Yeah. Just wanted to come on and mention that. And Gladys, this is awesome. Great. This is a great show. I might be able to stay on a minute or two longer, but thanks for letting me crash.
Or you can be your son after he puts his PJs on. He can come on.
Oh, nice. That is a good question from G-Man J in the chat. Are you bringing pies to Canton? Because I haven't decided if I'm going yet. If that's happening, I might have to.
Okay, if that gets you there, I will absolutely do so. I can travel with pies. I have no qualms with doing that if that means I get to give the masses, you hungry folks, some of those pies, because I feel bad we aren't shipping just yet, but we will get there. So now you're coming to Canton. So tell the world, Twitter, let's go.
We'll see if I can get away.
What kind of pie do you want, Scott?
I'm gonna write this down.
Oh, I'm a pecan fan. That's probably my favorite. I'm usually a pecan fan. So.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes, absolutely. Oh, so good. Southern pecan pie. When you can get that right, when that flavor and texture. I think someone mentioned to me a pecan caramel with peach, and I've never tried that before. I might have to give it a go, but. I love pecan pie. Never a bad choice.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice.
Do you use liquor in it? You make it with bourbon?
I do not make it with bourbon, but I absolutely have made some that do, and the flavor is just entirely different. Just because that alcohol component, when you can cook that out, you're getting all of the flavor that's coming from the bourbon that you have decided. So if it's a very specific, if you're using High West, or maybe you want to use Blanton's or something totally different, you will taste the way that they made the alcohol once it cooks out and how that will play in your sweets. So it's a science, but it's a fun science if you can use booze.
I'm totally in if you're using bourbon.
Yes.
Yes. If you're using bourbon for your pecan pie.
I'm a very, very big whiskey guy.
Yes.
I'm gonna check out, but Gladys, if you want to give away an SFB 11 spot on the show tonight, that's cool. Just let me know who won it. You can go ahead and tweet that out, and get more chat followers or whatever, and people in the chat.
Yay!
Yeah.
Thank you.
Figure out a fun way to do that or something.
Awesome.
Sounds
We'll
great.
figure out a pie way to do it. Thank you.
All right. Well, you guys have a great night. Thanks for letting me jump on. It was nice to meet you guys.
Nice to
See you
meet
again.
you.
Yep.
Tell the kids I said hi. Tell the
I'll
son
do
I said
that. Bye.
Well, that was awesome.
Back to
That was pretty
I didn't. I saw a fourth square come in, and I'm like, oh, who's joining? I'm like, oh, that's not
Well,
who I
right?
thought would join.
Who cares about my kitchen space?
Yeah, we can totally. Matt, did you get your SB11 invite?
I have not. I have not been invited. I did not want to say that, hey, Scott, I checked my email and I don't have one in there, because that'd be extremely rude. But he wants to give one away, so I'm not saying that person should be me. And 0%. It should be someone listening to your great show, and that's who it should go to for sure. 100%.
I'll have to think about that. So anyone listening that hasn't been invited other than Matthew, I don't have my phone, so I can't tweet this out because my phone's over there by the dogs. And the one dog, do you have dogs? Who has dogs? I know you do.
Oh, yeah.
Being on his side, I can't bother him because, I feel that's his most comfortable space. If I get up to go get the phone, he's going to be like, what's up? Are we going out?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Mayhem.
So I can't actually tweet it out. Scott Fishwater, which
this is a good thing. It's a siren because of Scott.
Listen, I truly appreciate it, but I felt like, are you in it? I'm like, I don't want to. If that means two are given away or something like that, sure. But I wanted someone else to get in. I remember speaking to people. There was an unfortunate situation that happened a few weeks ago with a woman in the FF community.
Right.
And I'm very happy that Scott was like, hey, do you want to be in it? Are you a woman in the FF community? Do you like doing this? Do you want to talk about it? I remember speaking with people. If I got one, I wanted to give it away to a woman who wanted to get in, because getting more diversity in this community is 100% what we need. Is 100%, we want it. We're asking for it. We want more people who have different opinions, have different walks of life, have different experiences. I don't want just be, I'm a little like shaky now because I've never been in Scott Fishbowl. It's this
You've
is
never
really
been
great.
in
No,
them?
I've only been in the satellite. I was in the satellite and met a lot of great people there last year. Troy King, which everyone knows greatly about, obviously at this point. Me and Troy were in the same Scott Fish satellite, and we met each other. We hooked up to join Dynasty Happy Hour when that was still operating in grand capacity. They're still doing the podcast. We were part of the writing team, and we've gone different ways since then. All the best luck to Tyler and all them still over at Dynasty Happy Hour for sure, continuing the podcast. But I've met a bunch of great people. Chase Vernon was with Dynasty Happy Hour, and I met a lot of other people. C-Dot, Corey.
Yes.
You had a whole bunch of people over at Fantasy Intervention were on that site. So it's weird how things all kind of connect back to Scott Fish in some sense. But yeah, no. Otherwise, no. I have never actually partaken in a Scott Fish Bowl in the real sense.
Well, I think it's about time because he said give one to you, and then you're giving one away. So Scott made the rules.
So Matt's in, and another one's given away. Yes.
Right.
Yay. Thank you. So I would do it, but I can't. And I will send the tweet out for someone to come in. You guys send do you have your phones?
I do.
I do. I have my desktop, so I'm good here with.
On the count of three, we're all going to send a tweet out for someone to come into the show to get their second one. And go. Are we going to do it by who comes in first? No.
I gotta get the link.
Here, I'm going to retweet. I'm going to quote tweet our show and say, tune in now for a Scott Fishbowl invite. This is so exciting.
This is exciting.
I love it.
I don't know if this is going to work. I'm going to post the link and we'll see what happens with that. I got one out already. So let's see what happens and see who joins.
Okay. Kyle, I love Kyle. He's so smart and he's so funny. And I'm going to retweet Emily's post because it was so much better than mine.
Honestly, I was just making sure I got my hashtag right, and I wasn't just saying like SBF.
I think I put Scott Fishbowl 10, so I didn't even do it right either. So I was so worried about just getting it out there that I don't think I even did it correctly. So you have an invite to last year's Scott Fishbowl waiting people of the internet. So that's how this is working.
Part of the year now, I really am. Thank you, Scott. Thank you so much.
Truly, for sure. It's like I said, I wanted other people to get it before me. That's I was more than willing to wait my turn, but I appreciate it for sure.
Because that makes you a very good man. That was kind. So awesome work.
Yeah,
I didn't end up getting one anyway to do the grand gesture of handing it off to someone else, but I appreciate
kind gestures pay off.
Yeah,
they do.
I like to think so.
Especially, yeah. All right, let's go back to what we were talking about a second ago.
Yes. Okay. So someone reached out to me. Then I go into the whole, hey, we need to see your kitchen space just so we can make sure it's going to look good next to our host and our leading lady that's coming on, as well as the two other gals who I was cooking with. Now I show them my space, and it's safe to say anticlimactic for them. They were not impressed with our tiny home and our mini kitchen space. So my sister comes in and she says, hey, why don't you show them a picture from Zillow, from their new house that they just bought, of their kitchen space, and see if they like that kitchen space, and you can come out, fly back home, and use the kitchen. I send it within 30 seconds. They're like, that would be perfect. Thank you so much. And so I fly home. I'm in my sister's house that they lived in for 2 weeks, if that, I would say. So there's boxes everywhere. We're trying to set everything up. I'm grabbing cardboard boxes that are moving boxes to place my phone so we get the right angle they're searching for. It was taking forever. Her Wi-Fi was awful because naturally they just moved in. So my mom, she's bringing over her little hotspot and we're going in and out. I'm getting kicked out of the Zoom call, brought back in multiple times. It was so awful and so embarrassing. But one time I did come back into the Zoom chat and Tabitha Brown's just chilling there, only her, and me, like, hi, Aunt Tab. Like, what are you doing? Nice to see you. And they immediately put me back into the Zoom chat with everybody else. Just like, oh, she's not supposed to be here. Move her. But other than that, it was so much fun. But the real kicker and the funniest part of this story is when it finally came out, so we can finally share it to our Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. They spell my name wrong on the intro, and they were using my maiden name, which is very hard to misspell. It's Edmonds, exactly like Chase Edmonds. It's very, you can spell that. It's not too difficult. So name is spelled wrong. And the one little clip they choose of me to do the intro was the one time I did finger guns and was dancing like this. So it's my name spelled wrong and I'm dancing with finger guns. It was hilarious, but it was pure chaos. But I'm a fool, and it's a good thing, but also sometimes really not a good thing when it's somebody else's Zoom
They like zany.
show.
They're producers. They like weird and zany because it sells the whole gimmick. Yeah, you know,
There you
like,
go.
they're like, we want high energy and we want really like bombastic people, and it's like, yeah, it's great. You know, just like any little bit that they can get out of people, I think you could more than made up for sure. Even with
Thank
them
you.
deciding that, you know, Edmonds was a ridiculous. Listen, I also didn't know how to say your last name until 10 minutes ago. So.
Well, Kluge is totally different than Edmonds. One sounds like a loogie, and the other one is just very English.
What did you make? What did you make?
So we did actually a vegan meatloaf, and they sent all, because Tabitha's main focus is vegan.
Vegan, right? Yeah.
And I've tampered in and out just with trying new things. People are getting very innovative with how they do meat substitutes now. And that's what she was trying to push, to advocate for all the people who aren't into meat. Great to know you can make a meatloaf with Beyond Meat. They sent all of the product to my sister's house. They asked for your address. Right? They have an Instacart driver. Just drop it all off to my sister's house and making sure we have everything set up right. But it was delicious. But my dad made sure to remind me multiple times. He was like, man, this stuff makes me fart like crazy. I was like, it's like, thanks, dude. But everything makes you toot like crazy. So thanks.
That's pretty awesome though, Steve Harvey. I didn't until your husband mentioned. I had never heard of Tabitha Brown.
That stinker. I know he did reach out, but for a good reason. It's a fun topic, but Tab is incredible. Her husband is Chance, and I believe he was a professional basketball player, but not even pro. I'm not entirely sure of his history, but I just follow her because she is a bright light and has been over COVID. Just so nice, so comforting, so much energy, but she's a good human to follow. She really is.
And she's a baker or a chef?
She focuses heavily on more just vegan forward. So whether it be a vegan snack or a vegan shrimp po' boy, because there's all these substitutes that you can get from companies. So she's working with a lot of brands right now, which I think is awesome. Just let people know where to find some stuff, where they can order it. And she does a great job. She's wonderful.
I have to get on that. Matthew, what's your favorite pie?
So two things. One, food's kind of weird for me right now. So I actually had COVID a few months ago.
Oh, bud.
And
sorry.
Ever since then, my sense of taste and smell, I lost it during when I was, active with the virus. Cooked food tastes like it's on fire to me, and it tastes burnt. And everything getting, like, if I'm in a room that's like has food cooking in it, like it smells like it's like a 3-alarm fire, and it's awful.
Oh my gosh.
So food for me right now is like really weird. I was having potato salad earlier, and potato salad to me tastes like it's burnt, and I don't know what to do.
That breaks my heart.
Yeah, so food's really weird right now. It is pumpkin. When I can't eat it, it's pumpkin because I don't like fruit. But everything is really weird for me food-wise right now. Like, if I just have chicken or a burger or lettuce, it all tastes burnt. So,
I will make you a pumpkin pie so it doesn't taste like a pumpkin on fire.
I think it's called like mysopia or something. So something with my brain right now after having COVID, because we know almost nothing about this virus and how it affects people after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 10% of people, and I'm one of the 10% that I hope it goes away over a little bit, but for like a month now, and I had it like back in February, I had COVID, and it's May. So for about all of April and May, food tastes burnt. Like I'll have Honey Nut Cheerios, and it's like I'm eating wood chips.
This is seriously breaking my heart.
Yeah, it's bad. It's it's because taste and smell are so attached to it. So it's like, I just can't, like, with a lot of food. Like I can't. We went to I went to a restaurant. I'm fully vaccinated now. Stuff like that. So I went to go to a restaurant, and like we were too close to the kitchen, and that was a lot. It's like it's almost nauseating. It's really bad. But pumpkin is my favorite.
That's like so I got sick in December and I lost my sense of smell, which is really weird because I burn incense all the time. and I couldn't smell anything. And when I was tasting food, I started eating spicy stuff, like because
horseradish.
Oh.
That's how I knew. I did a
I would
whole
not
spoonful
eat
of
spicy
horseradish.
stuff. I just started eating spicy stuff, but it's back now. So I think it comes back eventually.
Yeah,
it's going to take a while.
I can smell stuff, but like it's food specifically. It's not like some perfume and like cologne. Like I can't wear cologne right now because I just smell like I'm on fire. So
my gosh!
I can't. I like cologne. I got my Prada cologne. I got all the good stuff, and
Hey, your cologne is fire, bro. That's what people will say.
I can't.
It's perfect.
Like I just got to stop, drop, and roll. It sounds like because it's bad. I don't know.
Oh my gosh!
I don't know what's going on. My brain's all messed up right now. It's so bad.
It's so hard. I'm sorry to hear that.
No, thank you. I hope it just goes away in a few months. Barbecues are starting, so like in the neighborhood, if someone's like got the fire pit going, it smells like there's a fire pit going because I can't go up like out near a window because it's just overwhelming. So it's wild.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
that is wild.
And it makes me sad because food is so good.
Yeah, food's great. I love food. Big fan of food. Found DoorDash during the pandemic, and that was a mistake because my money and my waistline went out the window. So
I love DoorDash. For anyone listening that does not have a Scott Fishbowl invite, let you that.
We're so excited. We can't put it into words.
All the time. I don't control my mouth. Let me know in the chat. Just say I'm here for the Scott Fishbowl invite and to listen to. Yeah, that would be nice. And we will figure out a way to make a contest of it so someone can get an invite from Mr. Scott, who is truly amazing. So yeah, just let me know and let's go. So now we're going to do fantasy stuff for a few minutes. Okay. I think Benjamin's is holding up his hand.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Oh my goodness. All right. I'm going to start writing names down. So don't mind me.
I really hope that is someone that I know because they're wonderful. So I really hope that's the person I'm aware of.
Okay, so we got Benjamin. Jamie, does that mean you're in Scott Fishbowl or you want to be in Scott Fishbowl 11? Look at these two. Chip Seeker _3. I didn't mean cheek. I'm sorry. You can tell. I don't know what's wrong with me. Dude, I was so tired today and I didn't do anything. So that should let you know right now. Peter Herrick. All right. I probably don't have to write these names down because they stay on the chat, but what am I doing? Anyway. We are going to go, who's your most underrated fantasy football player right now?
So it's Mike Davis. If I'm going off of fantasypros.com rankings, it's Mike Davis because he's currently running back 32 for full PPR. And somehow Mike Davis was able to avoid really anyone of any note going into that backfield unless you consider Cordell Patterson, and it's 2014, what the time that we're in, because it's Mike Davis. The 32nd running back for a player who did basically cut Christian McCaffrey light things for the Panthers last year, I think is a little silly. I think he should be a little bit higher in about the 18 to 20 range. You're talking about guys like Najee Harris up there, Josh Jacobs. I just can't with Mike Davis currently. And even though some people do know that I am a Falcons fan, and I hide that. I like hiding my favorite teams because I don't like being called a homer, and I don't like any sort of inclination ahead of time. But Mike Davis currently, again, I went a little bit more in depth. An article I wrote last week asking people, hey, who do you want to talk about? And they want to talk about the Falcons backfield, and it's Cordell Patterson, and then the other guys behind him. I can't say with any recommendation right now that there's someone who you should really be looking at. I have other positions as well, like Ben Roethlisberger and Robbie Anderson and stuff like that. But Mike Davis for me right now really stands out as. You think
Roethlisberger's underrated? Is that what you just said?
Yeah, Ben Roethlisberger, because I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball effectively. I know they went and spent the first round pick on Najee Harris, but that's a team that's going to be able to pass the ball, and they should pass the ball because I don't. Yes, is Najee Harris possibly the best talent they had in the backfield over the last 2 seasons? Sure. But you lose Pouncey. There was a team that was a 32nd in the rush last year. The offensive line, if you can't run block, I don't really particularly care who's behind the line. Will Najee Harris be a better option for them? Possibly. But Ben Roethlisberger is currently about like quarterback 23 for a team that has legit options to throw the ball 400 something times for over 5,000 yards. If Roethlisberger shouldn't be in the 20s, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves and not thinking that, between Claypool and Juju Smith-Schuster and Deontay Johnson, that's an offense that, and Eric Ebron, primarily should be pass focused. Ben Roethlisberger, I think, is going to be a nice beneficiary of that. Wide receivers as well. I think if whichever of the Steelers you can get last, whether currently it's Chase Claypool, it doesn't feel as good a situation as it was a few years ago with the LA Rams, where you had I'm thinking the Brandon Cooks, and you had Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. The one who was really the best for that three, it wasn't obviously Brandon Cooks because he got the concussion injuries, but whoever you can get last, I think for the Steelers, I think has the best chance to get the best bang for your buck. Currently Deontay Johnson, then Juju Smith-Schuster and Claypool in terms of how they're going rankings-wise right now.
That kind of makes me happy because I'm a Steelers fan, but the Mike Davis happy.
Not a Broncos fan? I actually assumed you were a Broncos fan over there.
Yeah, I just moved here. I mean, I didn't just move here. I've been here for a while, but my parents are from Pittsburgh and Bridgeville.
They're a better team anyway. Sorry to the Broncos fans. That's just kind of
I mean, but the Mike Davis makes me happier because in a dynasty league I think I'm in, I was looking at my roster and I'm like, oh, I have Mike Davis as one of my running backs. I don't know how that happened, but now I'm happy that I have him. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Emily, who is yours? Kenny G is Ben Jamin says Kenny G is mine. I'm assuming he's talking fantasy and not Kenny G.
I really hope it's Kenny G though. I really hope it is.
I hope it's Kenny G, musical person. But who is yours?
Yeah, my underrated, and I know that people will try and correlate this to my husband's views, but it is Chris Carson on a personal level for me. Yes, I understand injuries, and injuries are going to happen because that's football, baby. But the argument of he's injury prone, and that means that he won't have the same amount of touches, if not potentially more this year, I think is foolish. One, he was seen being an not integral, but also a slight component of a passing game, which I think is awesome to watch an athlete be able to do those, be versatile on the field. That's what everyone who watches sports wants to see. He scores touchdowns. He gets those touches, and not to mention, I mean, $14.6 million contract is an indicator to me, at least, that you're going to be a very predominant force on that offense. And I think people are just throwing shade because they see injury. But man, I see a player that's going to perform.
Big fan of Chris Carson. Big fan.
Yes. Yes.
Some people might be they could say about Rashad Penny, but I like to think the Seahawks need to be more dynamic. It's for a few years now, it's just been hike the ball to Russell Wilson and let him do some magic. Now that he has, real legit top 5 possible receiver in DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, who has 200-yard games and then 2-yard games, Gerald Everett, who I think is going to be one of the tight end sleepers we talk more about come about 2 months. I think there's a few other guys like Adam Trotman and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
For Chris Carson, this is top 12 talent, maybe not in a top 12 situation, but I like to think talent plays out. They tried with some pickups so far to help the offensive line for the Seahawks in the offseason. They're going there is injuries. It's always an issue, right? Always a factor. But if you're playing football, unless you're the kicker, Justin Tucker is a lock to play 16 games because he's a kicker. But, Russell Wilson can go out first play. It was like Tom Brady in his 3rd year. He's out, the entirety of the season after 1 or 2 games. You can have situations go down. Hopefully, with a better offseason this year, we're not having to have so much, rampant COVID issues and all that. All the players that last year saw some injury risk, I think it goes down a little bit just from what precognition coming from 2020. I don't want to put too much stock into how some players played out in 2020 because 2021 is a completely different situation. Yeah. We do have the additional game, and 2022, we're going to see a different story possibly with these 17 games. But Carson and Penny might be working in tandem, but on a points per game basis, I think Carson's still going to be very strong. Yes. Can he push for top 12? We'll see. It's just going to come down to how people are ranking it. But really, I think, if Rashad Penny gets involved, it's not going to be because Chris Carson's lost a step or he's injury prone, or the coaches don't trust them. I think every single team is going to have a second running back, possibly upwards of 200 touches, because you're going to see teams where, the NFL season doesn't finish until next year. We go into January now. Games are going to get cold. People are going to get hurt. Unless you're in a dome or unless you're in, Florida or Texas, it's going to, people are going to get banged up. So I don't want to say that the injury prone guys have that much more of a stigma past just playing football.
Yes. Agreed. Agreed.
Now that we're talking about the injury prone gentlemen, Matt, who is your most overrated fantasy player?
So overrated, I did say Najee Harris and Josh Jacobs. I think I'm kind of leaning towards Mike Davis over both of them, and it's just based on the situation. If Todd Gurley was able to be fantasy relevant on one leg, Christian McCaffrey light Mike Davis from last year, who was bad enough to get cut in 5 games in 2019 with the Bears, but was good enough to be a clone of Christian McCaffrey last year. I think having no other options there, I would rank him over those guys. But Ryan Tannehill for quarterback, I really don't like currently be his quarterback 13. Has some rushing ability, but not as enough to be one of the top 7 guys who are going to be locked in because of those options. That team is very much just Derrick Henry, the amazing A.J. Brown, and him for fantasy right now. I know Ferkser and is going to be talked about just because you do lose Jonnu Smith, and you don't really have too much past them currently that I want to think, too much of from the Titans. Tennessee, I'm personally kind of down on just of, how efficient they've been, particularly Derrick Henry, rushing for 2,000 yards matters. One of my first articles last year was talking about after Christian McCaffrey's very large workload in 2019, I was worried he would get hurt. He did get hurt. Now, I just said injury prone doesn't matter, but I'm a little worried that this team is too reliant on just 2 guys. Josh Reynolds, I kind of hoped he'd be more in LA. Obviously, he didn't have, he wasn't Robert Woods or Cooper Kupp, but AJ Brown's better than those guys. I don't think there's enough real potential that I can currently see now. Maybe some stuff they've picked up, but it's not. I can't see him being quarterback 13. That's a weekly starter you're talking about out of the draft. Obviously, things are going to change, but Ben Roethlisberger, who has an actual shot to throw for 5,000 yards, I will take ahead of Ryan Tannehill, and he's about 10 quarterbacks later. Obviously, there's other guys involved, but
If they kept Corey Davis, would you still be of that same opinion?
No, I think he's still a little too high at 13. But last year we were talking about preseason. He was like I have in my notes here, maybe quarterback 15 or 16 ADP. So his ADP was quarterback 20. Right now, we didn't think Corey Davis was going to be a 1,000-yard receiver, which he almost was if the injuries didn't exist. But I think around quarterback 15 or 16 would be better for Ryan Tannehill if he still had Corey Davis. Jonnu Smith was amazing for about a month and then kind of floundered a little bit through the year. But at least having another option that I was very much assured of what he was going to be. Can Josh Reynolds and the rest of the Funky Bunch right now turn into something? Of course. It's football. Anything can happen any given Sunday. But Tannehill, I think, is a little too high at 13. A few quarterbacks currently being ranked behind him. This is just rankings. It's not ADP. There's nothing of that. Matt Ryan, who I would very much have ahead of him.
Yeah.
Everyone loves Kyle Pitts and loves Julio Jones and loves Calvin Ridley. I'd like to say that 3 is better than 1, but that's just me. And that's not my Falcons homerism. Again, that's why I push that to the side. But no thank you for Ryan.
No, thank you.
Trevor Lawrence, Kirk Cousins, those are a little bit more like in the mix. But Matt Ryan over Tannehill is a pretty easy one for me. But the rest of the top 12 seems pretty strong. But Tannehill really stood out for me at quarterback 13.
I love Tannehill. I mean, not Tannehill. I love Matt Ryan.
Yeah. Favorite player.
Man, when he launches it, he launches it. It is fun to watch, especially when you have receivers that can actually catch the ball.
Exactly. Emily, who's your most overrated?
I will go, and please, Eagles fans, do not come and hurt me. I'm going to say Dallas Goedert. This is a personal issue again, based solely, and I know I'm not saying 2 years ago, he had a good performance 2 years ago, but last year specifically, and I will, and I can blame this on Dave Kluge because this was his worst take, and I will say it because it personally affected me. After the first week, we saw, it was week 1. He had 9 targets, 8 catches, and a touchdown, which looked good in terms of tight ends because they're slim. But after that point, when we're talking goes on IR, which was really awesome for me. So then having to go back on waivers, he comes back. And even though with us discussing injuries, it was not being able to perform other than I think week 10 and 11, he did okay with 1 touchdown in each week. Other than that, I mean, it was abysmal. And I can't put full faith in someone who really wasn't performing last year when there were every reason why you could, other than being, of course, having your injury. And with this year, I know there are weapons and there's no Ertz, and I get that. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to rank him as high as people really are at this moment.
I really agree with you. I think we're going to fall into the trap we've been falling for in a few years. So the big three are Kelsey, Kittle, and Waller. Rank them as you will, but I think that's the correct way to go about it. Hawkinson and Andrews are adjacent. But I think what's going to happen is I think the tight ends we saw last year, we've seen years past. I know there was like a year we had like Hunter Henry and OJ Howard get pushed up and Evan Ingram as well. The next tier after the big 3 tight ends, people want to have an elite tight end as well. It's such a nice position to have real advantage at. Absolutely. Currently the 4 through 8, because Kyle Pitts is 9, and he's going to be a little bit more dependent on what your format. Because Dynasty is going to go very early. He's gone ridiculously early in some Dynasty startups. First round, first 5 picks, it's ridiculous. Yeah. But Hawkinson, Andrews, Goddard, Fant, Logan Thomas. I think I'm going to have exactly 0 of those players in my rosters this year. The quarterbacks.
Still in Detroit?
Was that?
Isn't Hawkinson still in Detroit?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he's going to be the primary. He might even be their best receiver, to be honest.
But it's still Jared Goff throwing to him.
Yeah, that group there is it's going to be very tough because I think one's going to emerge, but it's going to be you have to really nail it, and they're all going to be pushed into like possibly between picks 50 and picks 70 or so, and that mid. Rounds 5 through 7, I think you're going to see more quarterbacks. I think the quarterback, like real elite tier, has expanded. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen might be, 2 of the best you can get at the spot. But man, like all the way to like even like Russell Wilson. So like Jackson, Prescott, Wilson, Rodgers if he's still playing football, who knows? I think you really want to get one of those guys this year in that mid area because tight ends have let us down consistently. Like every year you see that next group is a trap. It's 100% a trap. You want to go wide receiver or running back? Fine. But I think you can find better tight end value when you fall into it and you take 1 or 2 or 3 guys at the end of your draft, depending on how many spots you have. But that second group there, if you want them to be a real standout player for your team and they don't end up doing so, I 100% agree. You're just going to be really hurt by it. And the Eagles got completely banged up last year. Wentz, I think, got unneeded heat. That offensive line was decimated. Jalen Reagor was in and out. Ertz was my favorite draft. That's me here. Zach Ertz, round 5. Every draft was my pick. And I'm saying from experience, if it doesn't work out, your teams are going to be terrible. I had a lot of Kittle, but Kittle was worth it. Kittle was worth that pick. Zach Ertz really hurt me. And I just think people need to think a little bit more about tight end. You want to get one of those top 3. Obviously, Kelsey is just going to go be – if a tight end could be MVP, Travis Kelce was it last year. Obviously, Rodgers had an amazing year, great for him. But at least for fantasy MVP, he is it. And I think Dave Montgomery is a little bit overrated, not extremely, but a little bit. I see the question there. So.
What do you think? David Montgomery overrated or no?
Oh man, I think that we have a lot going on that we have to just. In Chicago right now, we're still riding the wave of this hype, but we're also very, very apprehensive people because we know what we do to quarterbacks. But I think knowing of what was just, I believe it was the other day, Matt Nagy was saying that their wide receiver ran the wrong route. Okay. And so here comes Fields and he runs out and he goes up to the receiver and he says, hey man, let's run this again, but this is what you did wrong. I think that if you have someone that's manning the station, manning that pocket that way and is a leader, I think that everyone will want to start to perform on the same level as a quarterback that's actually showing up for the team and really showing that they're franchise material. But I think slightly overrated, but I'm really excited to see what happens this year. So I'm not going to speak too soon.
What does the Kluge's household feel about Matt Nagy?
Honestly, I think he's gotten a really bad rap because of, yes, a lot of series of bad mistakes, that whether it was play calling and knowing what to do, the ridiculous calls that he was making. And we're all sitting there with our minds blown and drunk and upset and screaming at the television. But I think that this was a really fun time to watch Nagy really show up and know that they can create as a football team. And they can create something great. They really can, but they can have insight and looking ahead as to what can someone do for this team as a whole. And I know he gets a really bad, people do not like him, and we understand that. And Chicago fans are absolutely awful. We are brutal people. We scream, we yell, we fight, we ruin quarterbacks because we're so heavily opinionated because apparently we're all athletes at this caliber. But everyone's going to make a bad decision every once in a while, of course. But I think it's the bigger picture that speaks louder. And I think Nagy is really, I'm getting more comfortable with him. I definitely had some words.
He still wants Dalton, though, for some reason.
He's going to talk that talk because I don't think he wants to hype any of us up. I think he wants to silence Chicago fans and make them wonder. And then who knows what could happen? Could he come out week one? Hopefully not at the end of a game where we're losing miserably, just like he did to poor Trubisky. But hey, those are calls that I hope that he can really start to make in terms of benefiting our team and our franchise as a whole. But man, it was tough.
I was excited for you guys. Fields, that was the pick of the draft for me.
That was. Yeah,
I think you had such an overwhelming defense. Was it 2019 and then the 2020 season? No, sorry, 2018. The 2019 was a big letdown for everyone. I think you guys bounced back in some measures, but losing Trubisky and the whole pick that went with it, spending that high, everyone's going to say, oh, you could have had Mahomes, you could have, whatever. It didn't work out for that. And now Trubisky is going to go hide behind Josh Allen for the rest of his career. But
so sad. But yeah,
but Justin Fields, I think I'm just happy because I love Allen Robinson, and they're with Mooney and Montgomery I say slightly overrated. Just and I wrote an article last year, saying I think Montgomery is going to be a breakout. He was, but doesn't mean that still with Cohen and I think with more abilities to move the ball. Maybe it leads to more touchdowns, but I think it leads to less overall work, which kind of evens out somewhat. But he was like a running back 6 or 7 last year. He had an amazing situation for that to go down.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, and that's one thing that I'm excited about this year is because the late round picks that the Bears snagged, I think, was an awesome move by the big guys. Having a full offensive line and defense that is healthy. That's awesome. And I know without Fuller, that is one thing. But man, those were different caps on salary and not being able to pay him and all these different things. And yes, that I think was more of a mistake, but I'm excited to see how they work together, how they can use all of these awesome targets and weapons for our benefit. And the defense, man, I'm defense. I love defense. And that is a sexy, sexy defense this year. So I'm pumped.
Well, the Chip Seeker _3 is going with, I like the Noah Fant, actually. Maybe. It depends on who the quarterback turns
to. It's a quarterback. I think that team is really congested. I think there's a lot of guys with, they're all young. That's a team that I think can grow together. I just, if I think the perfect situation for me is if Deshaun Watson really wants that belly out of Houston, Texas, and I'm not going to speak too much about the allegations. That's a completely different matter. Let's just talk about football. If he wants to go to Green Bay, we're still happy because we want Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones to be great. And then Rodgers can go to Denver, and then he can have a ton of fun with all their players. And then we never need to think about Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater ever again. And then we're all happy.
Well, I like Teddy Bridgewater, actually.
I like him as a person. He's a great guy. I don't.
We went to school together.
He won't lose you a game. I just don't think he's enough to really get the most, because I really like this Denver team. Sutton and Judy and Tim Patrick was, a real surprise last year. I love that. Noah Fant currently, I think he falls into that tight end group that I'm just avoiding. So it's really just a matter of, circumstance, unfortunately. But with those QBs, are they going to play both possibly? I don't know what they're doing. I don't like it.
Man, I don't like it.
it's
just like hashtag analysis. I don't like it.
All right, that's a great hashtag analysis. Really quickly, just so the people that are here for the Scott Fishbowl tickets, G-Man J is helping out, and he is going to have a question, and the first person he gave me the question. I will give it to you guys at the end of the show. The first person to answer it will be the one who gets the tickets. I think that's fair. The other, it's kind of a hard question, actually, but it has to be hard. So back to fantasy football for a second. What's your fantasy football draft strategy, Emily?
Well, I've only been in fantasy football for this will be my 4th year. And now, naturally, I was actually recently, I believe the other day, posted something saying, hey, give me your strategies, all of them for best ball, dynasty, you name it. I want to know, because I just want to try them out. I think Dave is addicted at this point, so might as well just join in on the fun. But with redraft, which was something I always did, I have gone running back heavy. Yes, again, sounds exactly like the other person who lives in this house, but it has paid off for me greatly. When I've gone and not reaching for those running backs, I'm getting those amazing running backs. And if I have any injury, I had Chris Carson, I have Dalvin Cook, I had Robinson, I could interchange out through those and felt great. So I go and I start off with running back. And naturally, from that point forward, I will always not so much reach, but I'm going to get a run-heavy quarterback. I love it. That's why Lamar's my guy. I love watching quarterbacks on their feet, because I think you have a lot of potential, especially in the red zone. Man, that is fun football to watch when you know that quarterback can just scoop right on in there. And Lamar specifically, he isn't afraid to put his body in front of the ball and really going for it. And there were some games where you could see the offensive lineman like, bro, stop. Don't do that. You're going to hurt yourself and we're trying to protect you. Chill. But that is essentially with redraft. Those are the things that I like to find, so that I'm not so much just cherry picking, but knowing that I have my running backs, knowing that I have a quarterback that's going to perform not just on their feet, but also with incredible passing. But with best ball, as a baker, I believe heavily in trial and error. That is how recipes come into formation. That is exactly what happens. It could be a recipe for disaster, but it could also be something that's going to blow your mind and become wonderful. So I'm going to try that with best ball. is mark down every single league that I do and how I draft each time, trial and error, and mark down what was my strategy for this one. And I go back end of the year, see how it plays out for me, use that analysis and see, hey, is that something I can apply for next year? But I'm brand new into it, so I feel like Matt's going to have way better of a discussion on this, but that's where I lie.
I have a
Did
different.
you like Davis's fall article, Emily?
Yes. I'm so amazed by all of the knowledge that stems from each one of the it's incredible. People have such a beautiful way of making it known to us, the people who are just getting involved, how to understand, how to look at this in a grand scheme of thing, not in a, I'm going to riddle off a bunch of words that you are going to have no idea what I'm saying, and then figure it out. No, that's not how I learn. I need it to be simplified so that I can put it into practice. So I appreciate all the articles. Send them my way, please. I love it.
Matt, what's your strategy?
So I didn't coin the term. The CBS podcast, right? CBS Sports, one of the biggest fantasy people out there. Heath Cummings, right? Who I am so gracious to be followed by. I'm followed by the whole team. I love CBS guys.
Awesome.
He coined the term NADS, no applicable draft strategy. So what I do is I don't go in looking for anything particular. I do my own rankings. I like who I like. I put out, I put out last year. I was like, hey, I'm going to go into a draft. You're going to know exactly who I like. If I have, this is my wide receiver 1, I will take him ahead of my wide receiver 2. Well, I'll take ahead of my wide receiver 3. Now, obviously, do I not like taking a quarterback in the first round redraft? Of course. Do I like having at least 4 running backs when I come out of a draft for my team? Sure. But I'm not going to shoehorn myself into, I need to get a tight end here, I need to get a running back there. That's when you start falling into, pitfalls. Technically, Zach Ertz was one of my favorite round 5 picks because that's where I had him going for me. Doesn't mean I was saying Zach Ertz round 5 needs to be done. It's just kind of how it was playing out. If that went well for me, I was going to be great because he was on like 8 of my teams, and then 8 of those teams sucked. No, that's technically incorrect. But it was just a matter of, if you start saying, I need to do something, I need to get this here, that's when you start panicking, and that's when you start getting worried about how your team's going to, work out. I think what you need to do is really take account for the first month of the year. That's when everyone's healthy. That's when you can actually get the best feel for what this defense looks like. You can have the data from 2020. The Chicago Bears were great against the run, or the Packers were great against the pass, or anything you could say was, you're like, okay, so I want to avoid this guy for this stretch of time, and then I want to see what my team looks like after the first month. If you want to do that as a draft strategy, by all means, because that first month matters a lot. I think more so this year than ever because of the extra game. But like 2022, I think maybe a draft strategy is going to be, I think the first 5 or so picks is going to be all running backs next year. I think you're going to have such a very small pool of real elite running backs that come next year. The first 24 picks, I think maybe might be 5 running backs max. And it's going to be really tough if teams with their coaches start really playing into this RBBC. We don't know yet. And it's really me taking a stand saying, hey, only 5 running backs are going to be taken in those first 2 rounds. But that might be the norm. And I just want to warn people of that now. So when you see rankings next year where it's like, even Chris Carson, a guy we thought of top 12, might not be until round 3 at the least. So I just want to say now that we might just, I'm not saying get out ahead of it and affect your draft as it is, for 2021.
Right.
But 2022 might be a completely different situation. NFL players are really, really fed up with playing on Thursday night. I don't know how much they're going to be happy playing 17 games. I don't know how the running backs are going to hold up for 17 games. This, it's a collision sport. You're going to get, everyone gets hurt. Everyone, I remember people saying like a Monday felt like you got hit by a truck. I've never been hit by a truck. I don't want to get hit by a truck. They do that every week. So I'm just saying right now, no applicable draft strategy. Get who feels right. Go by rankings. Fill out your team in the best way you can construct it. Don't say I need person here, but next year, just be careful about what the trends are going to be after 2021. We might be completely not in the right mindset right now saying, you know, I still want to go and get X player, you know, we still have like Travis Kelce. He might retire. Tight end situation might be completely different. Quarterback is Aaron Rodgers going to be around. You know, players going to change teams. We have a lot of running backs. You know, the situation got really messy. That's why when I sit here and say Mike Davis is the most underrated player, is because there's very little backfields right now where there's actual competition for touches. He's going to be clean to go. You know, you have Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley. These are big name guys, but find players who have the easiest way to get you fantasy points week in, week out.
That's great.
Excellent. That is great. It's kind of, yeah. Hi, Troy. How are you?
Hey,
Troy. So let's talk about mental health for a few minutes, because I'm mostly on Twitter. Like, I don't really do much Facebook or whatever other social platforms are out there. But it seems to me that Twitter is saturated with a lot of negativity that can adversely affect people's mental well-being. Like, I personally take 2 days and I just don't go on Twitter at all. I just 2 days. It's usually the weekend, but I want to know what you two think about mental health issues as they are presented on Twitter, and what is the best way to cope or to make yourself more comfortable with your mental well-being while you're there.
Yeah.
With you anyway.
Yeah. So in terms of Twitter, I think if the community around you is there to build you up, not break you down, then yeah, that can be helpful. It can. You can rely on people and lean on people, but that's not everybody. And there are people waiting to eat you alive all the time, especially if they can sniff out any component of weakness or something that they don't like, which is, it feels so daunting when that's directed towards you. I think everyone on Twitter is fully aware that there's a percentage begging to take a dump on your day, throw shade towards you, and honestly attack character based solely on a hot take or a piece of information you found interesting. While it's easier said than done, honestly, to just ignore trolls, I think if you've had any sort of anxieties, which we have, and some greater than others, but still all very prevalent and very important to discuss with people in your community, if you see stuff like that, that is going to hurt you. That's going to hinder your personal success and your personality, how you want to share that with people, because that's the whole point of having social media, is to have a little bit of you that you're putting out in the world. And when people target you based upon who you are and then try and hurt you with it. So no, I don't think Twitter will benefit you in that way. But what I will say is, you unplugging, you getting away from that, you just taking a moment, you know yourself better than anybody else knows you. So spend more time with you than with other people's opinions of you, because they're not in person talking to you, building you up. If they're there to break you down and basically dislike you because of your success and where you're going, man, let them hate, because that means you're doing something right. But it is also, it does hurt your personality. But if you got to spend some time yourself, self-reflection, and be around people that build you up. But don't let those voices of others, especially on Twitter, man, they are brutal, but they're temporary, and your success is way bigger than that. But it is so daunting, and it is so real, and it's palpable how you feel that. So I think it's a conundrum of emotions, but having any anxieties, any of that, it's nice to take a step back.
Matt, what about you, hon?
So the people who do know who I am and do know my story, I wrote a very long-winded, and I do that when I'm on podcast too. I just talk for days. A very long article, basically just pouring out what happened last year. To people who do know me or want to know my story, I implore you to follow me at Mathodical1 or look through my Twitter. About a week or so ago, I put a very long post about what happened in October, November, December of 2020. So I attempted suicide. I dealt with very engrossing mental issues. I have had it for years, about 7 years or so. I came into this space because this is what I want to do, and this is where I want to be, and this is the career path I want. I was very thankful to have a platform and an ability to get into the space. But over time, I ate away at myself. It wasn't even really what other people did. It was me. I hurt other people with my words and my actions on Twitter. I self-sabotaged. I was part of Going for Two. I left the space because I didn't want them to be any part of what happened. And I'll even say, if anyone has questions for me right now who do want to, please put them in the chat, because I will ask them. I will answer them now, even though I did put a lot into that write-up, which I intentionally wrote very late at night, very tired, so I didn't think much about it. I just went. My story was I came from very little, into the space very quickly. I went from a few hundred followers to a few, 1,000 or so in a few months. I was very happy to have my own podcast. I was very happy to work for Dynasty Happy Hour and to work for Going for Two for the time I was. I remember someone asked on Twitter, and this is kind of where it started, and this is where I started self-sabotaging. What does it take to be successful in the fantasy space? And I said, just be nice, just be funny. It doesn't matter what your content was. That comes from a point of jealousy. That comes from a point of hate. That comes from a point of thinking that the hours you spend every week doing this, and I was just, with the pandemic, I was going to go into college at the time because for some reason schools didn't give a discount to go online, but that's neither here nor there. I started lashing out. I started pissing people off. I started saying things that I thought I meant and I thought were real, and it's not. It was just pain. I felt that I was working all the time on something that people didn't care about, and they didn't care about what I needed to say and the work I was putting in, and I felt it for other people. I'm not gonna lie. I sat there and I was like, why does a write-up I took 5 hours to do get 2 likes, and why does someone just saying some joke on Twitter get 3,000? And it's like, that hurts from the mentality I had. It took till now for me to admit that was wrong. It is wrong, but it doesn't mean that I didn't think that way and I didn't feel that way. And that's, it's not like people who have mental health issues, they're fine one day and they're not the next. Fine does not mean that I am different. I am who I am. And part of that is being depressed. And part of it was having thoughts that hindered me getting forward in things I want to do and hurt people. I had multiple people thought I was coming after them in a personal sense. I lost, since October, I think about 800 followers. Multiple well-known people in the industry no longer follow me, and they have no intention to, and I have no intention to tell them to come back. People who wanted to be there for me have and will be, but doesn't mean that. There's two things. One, anyone who doesn't follow me or doesn't care about what I say or anything like that, they're completely entitled to do so. I was an asshole. Like, there was nothing about it. I was saying that I didn't matter, that we were fake friends, that people on here, you don't know each other, and that was wrong. That's rude. That's disgusting. That's not anything that needs to be said. But to anyone who decided that I'm not worth having around in any capacity, they don't need to be there for me, because they weren't. Gladys, I knew you were there. I knew your husband Dave was there. I knew so many people were there, and meant it. the one thing I will say about mental health is there's a lot of people who, the problem with the fantasy community is that I think there's people who say things and they don't mean it at all. And there's people who have their own intentions. And I think people get hurt by thinking that we're all here together. And that still sounds like I haven't learned anything from my experiences, but that's because I did learn from my experiences. I was trying so desperately hard to get people that didn't care about me to like me. I was trying very hard to get popular and to get my work out there and to be so much more successful, so much more quickly than any right deserving to be so. People are exactly where they're meant to be. If you are successful, if you are not, you are putting a level of effort and you're putting a level of what people like about you. And it's very hard to realize that. And it took me months to do so, that I was exactly where I was supposed to be. And that really hurts to say, and it sucks to say, because there's so many people trying so very hard in this space, one with their mental health, and two, to get more followers, get more attention, be picked up for podcasts, be all this. I get it. It really, really, really sucks that, things are not going your way that you wanted to at this exact second. And I'm nothing but honest now, because, I was jealous of other people. I was hateful of myself. I didn't like where I was. I didn't like, anything about I completely shut down. I can't say, exactly what was going on at that exact moment when I decided to take my own life a few months ago. But I've almost died before. I almost drowned as a kid. I got a concussion and a partially collapsed vein in my head about 2 years ago. I've been near death before, and I'm still around, and that might mean something and it might not. Some people are more spiritual than I am in some sense, but mental health, I don't like when people just put out, excuse me, that they're allies of it, because there are people in this community who say it and they don't care about you at all, and they don't care or know about what's happening. And I don't like that there are bad actors in this community. I love that there are great people like our hijacker Scott Fish, who they really care. Like, they really care about people. And I think, I'm trying to do better. It sounds rude. I don't want to say of the wording that I don't care if you don't follow me, but I needed people because I wasn't there for myself. And the people who were there for me, I will always know that and always remember that. And the people who unfollowed me because I unfollowed them and they didn't care to look into what was happening, and they were fine with someone they barely knew dying, and they have all the right to do so. I will not name names. I will never name names in a bad sense, because that doesn't help anyone. But there are people in the community that I will never speak to again, because they were fine with someone dying and not caring about it. But what I will say is that people who were there for me, and I have said on Twitter, they know who they are. And I think that means more than me just saying, like, I like to help people out. I used to, retweet people for followers or for the content and stuff, and other people took the mantle. And I'm, very grateful that other people stood up and were trying to be, the good people. There needs to be good people in this industry. We all want to make a name for ourselves, but, at the base level, this is a game and a hobby. And just like any other hobby, there, people want to enjoy it. And there's people who want to spread good word, and they want to spread, light to other people. Those people really matter a lot more. And I know this has gone way long-winded.
No, you're fine.
But this is awesome. And honestly, not to interrupt you by any means, but you coming onto a platform and a space and using your testimonial and being honest about what you went through and letting people understand that, hey, your door is open for people struggling that aren't capable just yet of being able to put that out into the world. What a strength that is. That I hate the term, mental illness is a sign of weakness. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Those are the strongest people I've ever met in my life, to adapt to you knowing that you want better for yourself, and you are putting yourself in a position, in a better mindset, and you're working through it every day. That is that's a paradigm. That's awesome. That's awesome to be able to watch. And thank you for putting that out into the community so people don't feel so alone. That's strength. That is strength. So thank you.
Yeah, I just, we just met today, but you're someone I felt like, I can tell you're good people, both you and Glass. I know that. I can feel that. You can feel the good energy that people put off, for sure.
Thank you.
And there was situations I put myself in that were, and again, I will not name names, but I will say that retweet groups are bad. They're bad. I wanted my content to be seen more in my eyes, but I wanted more people to actually care about what I was saying, not if my article appears on your timeline. That should not matter. If you are looking for ways to have your audience reach more people, I'm at Mathodical1. You can always send stuff to me, and I will try to help other people find your content. To anyone listening to this, or today, tomorrow, the week after, whenever it may be. Because when I was trying so hard to, if someone, in my own, bad natured, brain that was going on, if someone put something in a retweet group, I felt like within 5 seconds I needed to retweet it, or they were mad at me. And, I would see people not care about my content that was in there, and they wouldn't care about what I needed to say ever on the timeline. Those are not people that follow me now. Those are not people that reached out to me. Those are not people that care about. And, there's people who I hurt during this, and I understand that. People are entitled to hate me now. They are 100% entitled to hate me. But I feel like I at least get some notion that while I deserve to be hated, I don't deserve to be never feeling that I was let down by other people. Because I let myself down 100%, and other people have felt this way. I see it on the timeline. I see people saying, the community is toxic, and I see people, I want more people to care about my stuff. I want, like, how do I do this X, Y, and Z? Like, if I can sit here and say I'm jealous of other people's success, other people can admit so as well. And it's just, it's stuff like that. It eats away to you. And it was eating away at me for just months, and I needed to get away. And it's taken me till now to come back, because I needed that time away. It took me 7 months to be away from all this, to really think about it. I didn't start even working on anything till like April. And again, in any bit of this that's taken away, I don't have hate for other people. I don't have, I was doing it because I hated myself. That was it. That was the reason why. I didn't intentionally hurt people. And if I did, I apologize profusely. I know people thought I was coming after them. I know people thought that I hated them and that I was doing wrong by them. And, there's people I really respected that they'll never speak to me again. I was, even just a few weeks ago, it took one person not following me that I really thought was, someone I really looked up to here. It was just a few weeks, and like within 5 seconds, I was like, you know what? I don't have to go back to school for this. I don't have to be in the fantasy space. I'll just cancel on Gladys. I'll just cancel on other shows coming up. Like, that's how quick this stuff works. If you care about mental health, you have to understand people who don't think like you. They'll blow stuff up in an instant.
It's not just snap out of it. You don't just tell someone to snap out of it.
No, it's like, it was just, it's all it takes. It's really strong in your own mind to just, to put yourself in such a bad spot. I thought every single day for about 3 months, different ways to kill myself.
I'm so sorry.
And
that is so tough. So
when I say I don't care that people didn't come back, it's because for 3 months was telling myself, this is the train schedule. This is how it works. I live a block from the train station. I can just walk. There's a wooded area there. They won't see me. And you know, people not coming back, it's fine, because that's what my brain was like for 3 months. So someone that didn't care enough to see the after and me coming back and me still being around, because technically they did beforehand when I was whatever I was in the, in the community, they don't deserve to be around with me. That's it.
There you go.
For my own sake, I don't deserve to be any way associated with them.
I love that.
I do too. And I am grateful for you sharing, because people need to come out of the stigma. They need to believe, it's not something that you go, hey, just get over it, because you don't just get over it. I'm with Ready N. I am really glad you're feeling better now. I'm really glad you're here. I'm really glad you're agreeing to be on the show.
Me too. This is wonderful getting to hear your story, but the confidence it takes for you to be able to do that is just insane. Like in the best way possible. I am so just impressed, but also humbled that I get to be on the show with you. So thank you.
And I agree with Jay, Team and Jay. So unbelievably glad you're still here with us, Matt. And with Teets, which makes me think of really bad things. I'm really glad that you shared. Okay, so we're going to do Jay's question, but before we do that, I'm going to do another little segue into Samuel L. Jackson, because I will not end without talking about Samuel L. Jackson.
Yes.
Yes. All right, you guys have to tell me three Samuel L. Jackson movies and your top three. And then the one iconic line that you will never forget from Samuel L. Jackson.
Okay, so my top three will be 1, Pulp Fiction, 2, Die Hard with a Vengeance, and 3, The Negotiator. Those are my 3. And then it goes Django and anything Marvel, because I'm a nerd and I love it. And I don't care what anybody says. But my movie quote, I have to. I'm going to do the first one because it's hold on to your butts. Jurassic Park, smallest little bit, but man, did it really rock the world. Like, hold on to your butts. Amazing. But the real one, though, is from Pulp Fiction, where Quentin Tarantino, pardon me, he took, I think, a verse from Ezekiel. I'm not heavily religious, but I do know. And then he switched it up to make that insane quote. But the path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the inequities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who, in the name of charity and goodwill, shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness, for he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger on those who would attempt to poison and destroy my brothers, and you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee. Like, are you kidding? Legendary. Oh.
I have to admit, I am not a Quentin Tarantino fan, and it took me the longest time to see Pulp Fiction. But that Samuel L. Jackson in Pulp Fiction was amazing. Almost every line he had in that movie is iconic. Yeah, and I do love it that you said The Negotiator, because that is one of my favorite movies.
Oh,
all right,
man.
The thing about that Samuel L. Jackson, to me, it's like he feels like he's always the bridesmaid and never the bride. Like, it's like they take a really good movie and they're like, we'll just throw, because he always feels like the support. Is he never like the main actor? It feels like it's always
Snakes
like
on a plane.
I guess that's a movie technically. So, because Pulp Fiction's like, that's my favorite movie. So I can't even with that, but like. I love him in The Kingsman. He's the bad guy in that.
Yes.
Django Unchained. He's got a very small role in Kill Bill 2. I'm a big fan of like anywhere he does pop up. Like him as Nick Fury is so iconic now. Even in the Incredibles, which is my favorite line, which is where he's looking for a super suit.
Yes.
Where's my super suit? I love that.
There's my super suit.
I was
gosh.
6 when that came out, so that was like my favorite thing. So I'm still a tiny tot in the industry. So.
That is awesome. All right, right now, this is what I'm going to do. G-Man J has sent me a question via Twitter that I'm going to ask. Anyone who wants a Scott Fishbowl 11? So we're 11, right?
11.
Scott, no, not the 10, not last year's, but anyone who wants is here for the Scott Fishbowl. The first person to answer the question correctly will get the entry into the Scott Fishbowl. Thank you very much, Scott Fish.
Yes, thank you, Scott Fish.
For being hijacking the show and for doing this. All right. So are you guys ready? Oh, that is a good line. Say what again? I dare you. That's from Mark Simon. All right, everyone, here we go. Here's the question. I am a wide receiver and have played for 4 different teams in my career. I've gained over 1,000 yards with each of them and in 5 of my 7 seasons. Who am I?
I know who it is.
So if you want Matt, if you can chat Matt, he might give you the answer. I don't know.
No, I think I know who it is. I got to look up on Pro Football Reference so I don't say the wrong.
Benjamin Brandon Cooks. Although I think you know his name wrong, it's okay. I know who you're talking about. That is who it is. Thank you, Demon J, for the question. Thank you, Benjamin, for
great job, Benjamin.
Answering the question. I know but I don't want to say it. Crowder, no. Sorry, Clinton. Benjamin, scratch the second one. Brandon, what is happening here? Just answered it. Marshall, no. Cooks, yes. Yikes. I'm sorry. Okay, you guys are killing me here. I can't read that fast. Cooks. It's Cooks, Teats, but Benjamin was the first to answer it. Let me see if I can get a time on that. And then, how do you think you answered it first? No, Sorry. It's Benjamin. You were very close, Teats. You were extremely close. But I can't go backwards, but I swear, Benjamin answered first. And Mello, thank you, but it's answered already. And Benjamin, if that's your Twitter name, send me your Twitter name if you're on Twitter at Gladys L. Tyler. DM me your Twitter name, and I will send it to Scott, and we will get you your invite. Okay. So thank everyone. Do you guys want to do a rant? Emily, you got a rant in you?
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's hear Emily's rant.
Okay, my rant is basically just saying kind of what we had discussed a little bit earlier, but a little bit more direct. If you have anything to say to people on social media and you don't agree with those people, do not target people's character. Do not go after what they look like. Do not go after something that they are clearly passionate about or a hot take or whatever, and then attack them as a human being. That in turn makes you so ugly and not cute to look at all. And people don't like bullies. It was never fun to be a bully or funny by any means, and it's still not going to be funny. So if you need to learn how to debate, there are YouTube videos. If you can watch this, you can watch a YouTube video and just know how to debate, how to not break people down and build each other up. Do not target people's character. Do not come after people and just go out there looking for some ridiculous energy that nobody wants. So chill out, learn that people have different opinions, but people are people. And that is what makes certain things fester, especially if it's anyone who has anything internal. Don't do that to people. Just learn how to talk to others. That's in a cordial, kind way. And that's basically it. But stop attacking people's character. It's just not cute. It is not cute. So stop.
It is not. And I totally agree with you. And Mike, Matt, what do you have?
The problem is I get so long-winded with stuff, so it's like, I feel like I'll keep it short now. I just want to, and on the flip side, what happened before, I just want to thank people who do, interact with me, wish me back, want to listen to my stuff, want to read my stuff. Like I said, I put an article out last week. both the mental health piece, and then a few days later, an actual fantasy piece. My first, in 8 months. I don't have a site. I am not part of a site. I am just putting stuff up on Twitter and, guest appearing. I'm actually on Front Yard Fantasy on Wednesday. So if you can tune in there, I believe we're doing some fantasy football trivia. So let's see if my big brain can get, do well there. So let's see what happens. But I just want to be appreciative of the people who have treated me well. On the flip side from before where it was more negative, I just want to say, the good people, you'll know who the good people are, or at least we should try and bolster up the people who deserve it. Because, Gladys here, Emily and Dave, these are good people. These are actually good people. I know they're good people. You can tell that they're good people. So when I see people attacking the actual people out here who are willing to talk and willing to listen, and they care about the community, and they care about not just fantasy advice, but it's how your effing day went.
Yes.
That's what matters. It's not don't just take follower accounts into, the character of people, because when you look behind the wall, it's these are not the same people you think they are. And it's find good, find light, find people that you want to be around with, people you would be friends with in real life. Those are people you want to be with.
Yes.
Some people just, follower count doesn't mean fantasy advice. We're all here to try and, people who are taking the time out to write articles, make rankings, do that stuff. It's a grind. It really it takes a lot to do. So if you see, you think running back 11 should be running back 10 and they have them as running back 12. And it's don't try and ruin their day. What is, I went down the rabbit hole after that interaction with someone that was going after Dave. And it's half their day is just spent just you got to block and mute and whatever. The issue is, in this space, Twitter and Instagram and whatever, unfortunately, is part of the gig. But I put tweets out hey, is there new people in the fantasy football realm? Let's help them out. The one thing I saw last year is I saw people get into the space and I didn't think they were treated well. And it's not about me. It's about, I do a lot. I try to help other people. It's I put tweets out. It's hey, did you write something? Do you have something cool? Put it up here and let's see if we can get other people to see it. Cause it's try and, take advantage of it. Cause, I don't have them, 10,000 followers, but there's people that follow me that will care about what you have to say. They will read what you want them to read. And it's any little bit that can help you out, and let's treat the new people in the community well. Emily, someone like her who's just I see people, they don't treat you as Dave's wife. They're she's part of the community as well. She's here,
which is
she
great.
matters.
I love that.
Yeah, it's not just you're it's just she's also here. Dave has a lot of stuff to talk about fantasy. She's also here. It's no, I see
got
people
my own thing.
Yeah, they care about what you have to say. And that's important. It's I want to see people who are new to the community. They always have a shot to, reach out to me, and I will do what I can. Honestly, I'm not, I took a massive hit myself. So it's not I'm not where I was strength wise in the industry, but, find people like that. Find people who can help you out, and find people who are good people to be around. There's 2 right here. So you could start with them and then you can move on from that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
One thing I did want to say, because I wanted to finish it and I had it in my brain, and I even told Dave, I was I'm going to end it with this and I think it's going to be great. And I didn't say it. But if someone else's success is making you upset, that is a personal problem. And make sure that goes within and figure that out on your own time. But allow people to understand that, hey, people are working hard. People are working so hard day in and day out. Don't belittle someone else's success because you might not be there yet. You can get there. Just put in the work hard, and those good things will come back to you. And rant.
Oh my God, I want to thank you guys so much for being here. Matthew, I want to thank you so much for sharing. Emily, I want to thank you so much for sharing too. I want to thank you both for being on. Everyone who is here, Sri, I don't even know how to pronounce your first name. Ready, and Davis, Ping, Teets, which I love
I love Teets. He's the Teets.
Gotta like text me and tell me what that means. Because it's Jamie, I think. Jamie, Peter, Benjamin, congratulations. I got your stuff I have your thing on Twitter. I will send it out as soon as I can. Mello, Gary, Gary Zam, who I hope that you get in really soon, and I'm sure you will.
He's so nice. He's so nice.
He is so nice. Chip Seeker _3. G-Man J, thank you so much for the question. Mark Simon, thank you for joining us. Everyone, thank you for being here. I appreciate you so much. This Thursday, you guys need to tune in to Jay's The Upside.
Podcast with Upside.
Yeah.
I am so hungry right now. You guys don't even know. So hungry.
Talking about pies for like 10 minutes.
I know. It happens to everybody.
I was thinking, okay, but anyway, so I'm gonna go eat, and I think this is for you, Matt. I think this Tannehill is better than Matt this year.
I don't doubt him. There's just a lot of good guys in it. My rankings will be coming out soon. I post everything. Anything I talk about, I put it out there for other people to see.
Show me
At Mathodical1. Hopefully Fantasy Pros does pick me up to be a full-time ranker this coming season. Last year I had multiple.
Do it.
Yeah, I had multiple top 10 finishes in the week. I was the number 2 overall, I think, in week 4. It's one of my most favorite things to do. I love doing rankings. I hope people are excited for that whenever they do come out. So I'm very excited to finally be able to do that. So,
yay, Emily, where can we find you, my little dear?
Yes, well, everything is pretty much all across the board. Twitter, Instagram, hills_have_pies. And that's where you can find me. You can always reach out to me. If you have any questions about baking or whatever, I'm always there. But I am so humbled to be on this with you both. It was so wonderful. Thank you. It was so much fun.
And also, if you guys are in Colorado, if you're in Fort Collins this Saturday, Emily will be at the farmers market at Lammer Square.
Yes, it only took me, 3 years of figuring my life out, but hey, we're going to be there and you'll be able to see me. We'll have the sign, all of it, but yeah, please come up and say hello. I would love that so much, please.
And thank you all again. And we will see you not next week. We will see Kyle next week, whose show is always awesome. And I will see you the week after next. And I do believe it will be with the B League and Nate Hamilton. Oh, no, that's not right. Sorry. The week after that, it's with Stumpy. I'm sorry. I'm hungry, all right? I'm hungry. It's working right now. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate you, Emily. I appreciate you. Goodbye.
I appreciate you.